Today is Thursday, September 5th, 2019. We're meeting for our weekly community development meeting. And let's see, today we have a deliberations agenda. I am calling this meeting to order. Attending are Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. And Zach, I'm going to ask you to lead us in the pledge. How's that?
Yes, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Do we have any conflicts of interest?
Well, let me make sure, is this one of the ones that lives next to me?
You're
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, it's not on today. Okay.
Okay,
All
good.
right. We're good. Okay, then. So no potential conflicts of interest, so we'll proceed with the signings.
Okay.
And the first one is ordinance number 544, case number ZON19-0005, Robert Pickering, to complete a zone change from agricultural to rural on approximately 10 acres. This was held, these deliberations were held by the board on August 15th and approved. So is there a motion to execute the order of decision?
I move that we execute the order of decision.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Filios.
Aye, motion carried.
And did that include the ordinance as well? I just heard the order of decision.
Oh,
Yeah, the ordinance 544 and
I'm
the
sorry,
case
you're
number
right, yes.
ZON.
Ordinance number 5, yes, is included. Ordinance
Yeah.
number 544, yes.
Just want to get that on the record.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so item B, case number MSP 19-0001, Garnet Ranch. A request by Crystal Creek LLC for preliminary approval of a major subdivision consisting of 25 residential lots and 2 open space tracts on approximately 166 acres over 3 parcels of land. The hearing examiner held a public hearing on August 1st of this year, recommended approval. The board held deliberations on August 22nd of this year and approved the request. Is there a motion to execute the order of decision?
I move we execute the order of decision in case number MSP 19-0001.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Filios.
Aye, motion carried. Item C, and the final item for our signings this morning, case number VAR 18-0005, a request by Rhonda Sand for 22-foot variance to the 25-foot front yard setback and a 5-foot variance to the 10-foot side yard setback requirements for construction of a detached garage on a 0.621 acre parcel in the agricultural suburban zone. The hearing examiner held a public hearing on August 1st of this year, recommended approval. The board held deliberations on August 22nd and approved. So do we have a motion to execute the order?
I move that we execute the order of decision in case number VAR 18-0005.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Filios.
Aye, motion carried, and that concludes the signing segment of our meeting this morning. Moving on to our second and final item, which is business, and it's an overview of September 11th, 2019 items ORA, which would be ordinance, is that correct? 18-0003 Omnibus 3 and ORA 17-0002 flood presentation standards. This is merely a discussion item where Director Callahan can give us the highlights of what might be coming before us.
Well, thank you, Commissioners, and good morning. On the Omnibus, if you start with the chart that's in your file, your electronic file, for review, and look in particular under justification, I think you can get it quickly. Most of the things in here, I will say, are perfunctory, meaning they don't do anything but make it easier for us to regulate in a useful, helpful way to the public.
Right.
There are some few things that the last board actually initiated, and we've discussed, and I believe you're fine with, things like giving me authority for variance procedures that normally would go right to the hearing examiner review, and allowing me to sign off on a subdivision exemption in the case where a lot has been created over time, doesn't meet the minimum lot size, but it does meet everything else. That I have thought would be a useful thing for the nearly 6 years I've been here. We finally got it in a place where it can go forward. So I'm frankly kind of jazzed about this omnibus. I should back up. For those of you that don't know, we've coined the term omnibus here to mean a collection of things that amend the code so that we don't have to do them each individual. Although you should know, we have one planning commissioner that has taken us to task for omnibuses because he thinks it's just too much and overwhelming. He'd rather we bring these things forward in a more piecemeal fashion. So Pat and I are thinking about the next round of review maybe being only a handful of things. But
We should only need a handful
A
of
handful of
things.
things.
Only a handful of things have come up since
then,
the Omnibus 3 draft
Okay.
was finalized.
Okay.
we should.
Right.
But I think just, again, to fill in the gaps here, we've been through these 3 rounds of really useful and significant changes, all because the 2016 code consolidation, where we took 6 disparate codes that didn't speak to each other, had different definitions, literally were in different parts of the code. When you do that sort of consolidation, it's necessary to have this sort of shakeout to get to where we are today, so that now I believe we're finally down to just finessing periodically.
Okay.
Okay, so that's omnibus. The floodplain regs are frankly even more direct in the sense that we need to be in compliance with the federal model and then the state model. And so that's what we've done. And the Plan Commission unanimously recommended approval, and there was very little discussion at the public hearing. In fact, the only people that spoke were in favor. It does also have the usefulness of a new addition in floodplain regs, of making it possible for one of our highway districts to rebuild a bridge that's in the floodplain, whereas arguably at the moment it's not possible without them spending an outrageous amount of money. Setting all that aside, the Plan Commission has concerns that they want to revisit the floodplain regs in the future because they think the CRS program is not, I'm searching for the right way to characterize this.
Well, the cost versus the benefits to a property.
Return
owner.
on investments
Yeah, there you
was
go.
bad. In
Yeah,
their
in other words, they feel as a general proposition that
what we
that
spend
the
on.
addition, that the additional regulations on top, for, you have a certain level of regulation for just, compliance with minimum FEMA and state requirements, and then you have what they call the CRS, or Community Rating System Program, which is another level of regulations, and, depending on what they are and, the actual threats to the community, they give it a rating, and then that would reduce flood insurance for people that live on shorelines. And the issue the Planning Commission has is there's not enough, the property
Benefit.
owners that have flood insurance don't see enough benefit to justify the additional regulation.
Okay.
And I will give you that. I think that's a valid point. The countervailing argument I want to have again with the Plan Commission and the public and then you is that if you think about floodplain regulations historically, they've only been around since the early 70s. And the mapping has only been around since the early 70s and hasn't kept up with today's reality. In some places it's gotten better. In my experience, not so much here because we haven't had the hydrological work to do that. And so one of the things the CRS does is just provide an added layer of safety for everyone's welfare. That's hard to measure. And it's certainly, in my view, not necessarily directly tied to money. So just a countervailing thought to keep in the back of your mind while we have these discussions in the future.
So talking about mapping, Basin Commission is actually looking at redoing the mapping.
Oh.
So for, Kellogg the Shoshone area, which I think will actually
That would
affect
help.
us. Yes, so it may actually be good, because what he was explaining is it has shrunk. It's, right now, the maps are way over
Wow.
what,
Well, that would be handy.
it would be great. It would be great. So
They
I don't
say
know
when?
what time frame that's gonna be in,
Oh,
but
right.
that is something that's happening.
And today's technology uses LiDAR, which is a much more precise way of mapping, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
well, that's good to know.
Yeah, and if we have our 100-year winter, we'll have our 100-year flood, and
Yeah.
then we'll know everything.
Then we'll know
right?
anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, the worst flood we've had, at least in the last 50 years, was in 1974, so I would think that would be the baseline for whatever mapping there
Mm,
would engage,
Right.
as we've discussed in project review
Yeah.
meetings.
right,
Okay.
okay.
Yep.
So does that give you enough of a big picture
Mhm,
view?
mhm.
Okay.
So as I go through it this next week, piece by piece, and I find things that I have questions or concerns, I just wait and bring them up at the hearing?
Or it's legislative, you can call me, we can talk,
Yeah,
Okay.
or me, either
Okay.
one, or
Yeah.
both.
or both.
Okay.
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
whatever's convenient for you.
Is there anything in particular that you wanted to highlight for us?
No, other than, I mean,
Well, as we've discussed previously, basically what they're doing, that they're calling a flood development review, will actually become a floodplain development permit. And that'll just, we're not charging them for
okay.
anything. You know, we didn't want to scare you with this, oh, we've come up with a new permit. But, you know, we're not charging them anything. They'd be doing the same thing they're doing now. We're just calling it a permit, and that way it'll be more easy, it'll be easier to track those, so we
Oh, I
can
see.
show,
Okay.
show IDWR and FEMA that, you know, we are tracking these, they do comply with the requirements.
I'm glad you brought it up that way. Let me backfill a little bit. I had forgotten, it's been years now. When we first started this, I had different staff, different everything. And we stalled because we got into an argument with the federal government and the state about whether we could actually regulate what Pat just said. He had to ultimately get an attorney general's opinion. He did. We're fine, but we had to work through all of that for years to get to where we are now, which is we've come up with a solution to review permits in the way the feds say we must, but without overburdening people.
And the specific issue has to do with dock permits.
Yes.
And, you know, that's something that's, I don't think well contemplated in the federal regulations, let's put it that way.
If
And it's not
contemplated.
just, and it's not just a North Idaho or an Idaho
Right, that's
issue
true.
either, but, you know,
But other states
I
don't-
think we found a
Yeah, a
workaround, because our
workaround.
final draft, you know, made it through this, you know,
Right.
state review, and she only had, you know, she only had us make one change, which we did make, so.
Right.
So I guess one question I have is heliports or helicopter landings, why not ultralights?
Because you don't actually have to have a permit to land an ultralight.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, anyone can go fly ultralight. A helicopter is regulated by, and,
Yeah.
and the weirdness is FAA gives the helicopter pilot a license to decide where she or he wants to land. And so in our case, we decided to actually say that it can be these areas.
Even ultralights need more runway to take off than a helicopter does too,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
That just naturally limits where they can
right.
take off and land.
That's market driven in that way. Okay, good question.
So that sort of harkens back to Omnibus. Is there anything you want to say about that? Anything you want to highlight for us before we?
Give me just a sec.
Oh, the groundwater quality report Sandy pointed out.
Yes, the Plan
It's
Commission
probably the big one.
took one, they struck out the minor subdivision listing we had, and to me, that was the main reason for doing it. For, you may recall, we had discussions with neighborhoods that want us to do a better job in groundwater reports.
Right.
We've got that in here under 8.6.203, the Plan Commission struck out how it would apply to minor subdivisions because they were worried it would cost too much. In my view, that the very reason we want this is for minor subdivisions, because that's the issue with neighbors.
Okay.
And it was a split vote, as I recall.
Yeah, and so we'll likely recommend that you add that back in.
Yes.
So when you say,
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you know, that would be a change that I think in light of the, you know, the general scope of Omnibus 3, I don't think that would be a material change requiring a second hearing,
Okay.
if you were to decide to do
To
that.
add that number.
So changes, what you consider material changes would require a second hearing?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's in state law, so, but, you know, that, whether a change is material or not, of course, is somewhat subjective, and there's not a lot of case law.
And that's where we would
So
defer.
I kind of have to make a call.
Right.
And just pray. So, I don't think that would be one that would be challenged. I think that would actually be welcomed, especially by the people that have expressed concerns to the commissioners and community development that there are
But
issues with water.
These
And
are only
that's-
places not over the aquifer. Is that correct?
Right.
Did I read
Yes.
that right?
Right, you did.
Yeah.
How costly is that? Any
Well,
idea?
let me back up and give you a better picture to start with. We already have an assessment requirement. They're supposed to do something. This just clarifies the degree and extent.
Okay. Okay.
And so, to answer your question, I don't know.
Okay.
But to me, it's the cost of doing business. If you're going to develop lots in the county, you ought to know that you got adequate water.
Sufficient water.
Right. You know, unfortunately, if you're in an area where there isn't a lot of, you know, there isn't easy access to water, that could either make the cost prohibitive or just increase your cost, or, you know, cause you to pursue alternatives to make sure the water supply system is trucking, that kind of thing.
But the public benefit is that you're not approving lots that a year from now or 5 years from now don't have water and people have to truck it in. And it seems silly to me to not get ahead of this curve to some degree. I don't know what this perfect solution is, but this is a better solution.
I was gonna say, as much as the science allows.
Right. At the moment, we don't have a perfect solution because I don't know if the science is there yet. But this at least is better than what we've had in the past.
Okay.
And it's the only thing the Plan Commission did that staff thought was controversial. The other thing they added in was something we thought was useful, which was new language for a dock lot definition.
Anything on the order of cottage industries?
Nothing changes
Nothing changes.
there.
Right.
Bill, Leslie, any other questions?
Well, thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Public comment? Hearing none, 9:18, meeting adjourned. Thanks.
Lengthy.